The Partial Breakaway Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life.
Episode 63. Let's go. I'm Junior. Nick is in the middle of your screen, and Vince is on your left. That might change by the time you watch it, but let's pretend it was accurate. How we doing, boys?
Well done, Junior. Well done.
It's looking to look like Christmas.
Yes. Happy holidays to all those who celebrate. Have a safe and happy holiday.
Sure.
While you're on break. We don't take breaks here. We're gonna have an episode next week as well, right?
We should.
If Nick survives.
If I survive by then, yeah. I mean, hopefully I'm seeing a doctor tomorrow, but I don't know if you've seen lately what the wait times are. Might not be seeing him tomorrow, so we'll see.
Sounds like Austin Matthews.
Ooh.
Day to day, but it could go from day to day to 6 weeks for all we know, right?
Yeah, and he was my top draft pick in my decent cup head-to-head league. It's a redraft league, and I don't know. Every season that I draft somebody, it seems that that's the one person that gets injured or has an off year.
Well, we could tell he was lingering. Something was lingering. He's not right 100%, even though it doesn't always show. But maybe he should take the Four Nations off. I don't know. I don't know.
Players are really looking forward to that.
Well, speaking of Four Nations and countries and international play, the World Juniors are right around the corner, which leads me to what we're going to talk about in this episode, which is our usual odd man rush. We're going to skip the ramblings or the who would you rather because we're going to have a surgeoning triage of the World Juniors. So we're going to take... we're going to choose players that you should watch out for to go into the World Juniors, which starts, I believe, on the 26th, Boxing Day, right?
Always Boxing Day.
Always Boxing Day. And then we have our usual waiver wire pickups and the partial breakaway league claims and stuff.
Jesus Christ, I got the sneeze attacks.
Vince looks like he's high on something there.
You're
He's got allergies coming out of the wazoo.
Your muting is on point. I'm very proud of you. Very proud of
you. There's at least another 6 sneezes coming, so... You guys can talk between yourselves. Holy crap.
You want to blow your nose and get it out of the way?
Yeah, it still won't work. All right.
Okay, so let's distract everybody and go straight to our Odd Man Rush.
Odd Man Rush.
All right, I am hosting the Odd Man Rush.
Is that better,
today.
Vince?
And Junior's speaking over me here, but...
He criticized my my board play last week, so
That's true.
I was wondering if it was better.
I think you're getting better.
You had a whole week to practice.
Yeah, he likes playing with his...
The
board.
nothing else to do but practice.
Ask your question because there's a sneeze coming along soon, so go.
Vince. All right, Capo Caco got traded to Seattle. Obviously, this was the beginning of the week. Scored a goal today. What is his fantasy outlook with the Kraken?
Good answer.
He could be their most talented winger that they have on their squad. We spoke about Seattle Kraken on how their squad is built. It's a lot of second line, third line players that are on that line that are playing first line. So they're not a very offensive team. But I believe he's going to get an opportunity that he never got in the Rangers. He's going to get ice time. He's going to get the first power play. I think he's playing with Beniers, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Beniers got an assist on his goal. So I think the opportunity is there for him to be fantasy relative. Um, and I think they're going to be patient enough with him to give him the opportunity to be. Then it's all up to him, right? So, uh, listen, I feel it's a good move for Kako's career. It's a good move for Seattle because they got some raw talent that they can actually develop into maybe a star player. So he was drafted third overall, so the talent is there. So I think fantasy related, I think there's some upside, but we also have to keep it in mind that he also is playing on a team that's not very offensive in the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, so I'm excited a bit too because I had taken a risk. He was kind of like a little bit of a throw-in from another team to try to entice me to make a trade. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do now that some players just need a change of scenery. This might be his last chance to be relevant in fantasy, so I agree with you there. Junior, you like controversy and TMZ stuff. Is Elias Pettersson and JT Miller relationship the real problem in Vancouver? You could tell Junior wrote this because he just loves like putting it into the Vancouver Knights.
I'm sorry, like it is a problem. Like it cannot be a problem, honestly. Like I was listening to Hockey Night in Canada, and Bieksa was there, and Bonus was there, and they're pretty much saying like this happens in every team. Like every team has players that like some players that just don't like each other, but like they don't have to go to supper together or play PlayStation like they said, as long as on the ice they're teammates, you know. But none of all those other stories ever got public. This is public. This is a distraction now. Everybody's talking about it. The captain had to come out and acknowledge it. The coach came out and acknowledged there is something, but they're professionals and they're not going to let it affect their on ice play. And not for anything, but call it a coincidence or not, I think Pettersson was always a little bit soft mentally. We spoke about it last week. He was on a bit of a run there while Miller was out. Miller's been back for 6 games, and it's 6 games that Pettersson doesn't have a point, and that's the longest he's gone without a point in his career. So like, look, it could all just be coincidence, but at some point, like where there's smoke, there's fire. I think it's a really big deal. I think by the start of next season, one of these 2 guys is not on the Vancouver Canucks. And if you're a fantasy GM right now, I'm contemplating whether I should start Pettersson. And to top it all off, I was in negotiations to acquire JT Miller in the trade. I backed off. After all this. The 2 weeks he needed for who knows what personal. Now this whole relationship with Pettersson, like it's affecting GMs, fantasy. It should affect fantasy GMs out there because it is a very touchy situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you there. I was in a conversation to acquire JT Miller as well. It was like for a package that included Barzal, I think, and another player and a rookie or something. But anyways, in the end, I just backed out because I'm like, I don't know what's going on there. And if I'm in it to win it, and I think JT Miller is the kind of player that you could win a league with if he's at 100% and if he's performing at 100%. And you just don't know. You don't know right now what's going on there. So
yeah, my lottery pick was in play there. So like, do I want a lottery pick and then this guy doesn't get traded, doesn't want to play? You know what I mean? It's a lot of risk.
One of them is definitely getting traded. It's back to the PK Subban in Montreal. PK Subban in Montreal got traded, and once he got traded, it was known that the Gallaghers of the world didn't like him, and
Pacioretty,
Dano, I think, also was one of the players that didn't like him, so they decided to trade him away. So they're as much as the coach says they're professionals. At the end of the day, if they want the team to progress, one of them is going to have to get traded.
Vince?
Yeah.
Logan Cooley.
Ooh,
30 points in 33 games played. Is he a must-start in fantasy, even if it's a redraft league, going forward?
I feel like...
In Dynasty for sure, but...
I feel like you guys are just looking at my LPHL team and just picking players. Last week we spoke about Marco Rossi. and I have him. Logan Cooley, I have him. In a dynasty, he's an automatic. For me, he's an automatic starter for sure, as a center position. In a redraft, I think he should be drafted. Do I think he be drafted high? Uh, no, middle of the pack, because at the end of the day, every redraft league or any fantasy hockey league you're in, usually goals are a bit more important than assists are. And Cooley is more of an assist guy than a goal scorer guy. But he's starting to do everything very well. He's starting to do face-offs. He's starting to have a very good defensive game. So, for sure, fantasy relative for sure. That in no matter what league you are, it just in a redraft league he'll probably go in the later rounds, like in the round.
Also his position, right? Center. There's
Center,
a lot.
there's full,
There's
right?
a lot of centers, and you don't
he's
start that many of
no,
them.
and he's only a center, right? Right now he's not a winger,
Correct.
which is more impressive that he's at this age he's doing so well as a centerman. Usually, centermen take a little bit more time to develop. So, but it just shows
Ring that bell, Junior.
on the talent he's got, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. Junior, Barzal is back, and Duclair is back, and the Islanders might actually score a goal. So, what can you tell me about what's happening there on the island? Is Patrick Roy finally smiling again?
Yeah, well, he was joking around on Saturday night there. They interviewed him before the game against the Leafs. That was a well-earned win. I mean, they gave it to them. I think it's much needed help. It comes at a good time. Plus, they'll have a little mini break for them to fully recuperate as well. They don't have much depth, so you lose a Barzal alone. Just losing Barzal, you're already in trouble. Imagine losing Barzal and Duclair. So, look, it's perfect timing, and we'll get to it later. But this should give them a little bit of a boost and maybe help them score a little bit more goals. And I think everybody on that team should see a little boost in production going forward for sure.
Yeah, completely agree there. Barzal had an empty netter at least to start things off last week, so that's something. Vince,
You.
Stolars was somebody that I had picked up right at the big. Actually, he was my last draft pick of my decent redraft league, and then I dropped him, which in the end I regretted big time because he's been absolutely amazing this year for Toronto. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. Initially thought to be day to day, and Matt Murray was finally called up. Is this a chance for Matt Murray to maybe resurrect his career? He's been out for quite a bit of time.
I don't know how much opportunity he's gonna get with Toronto. I think right now the ball fell into Wolves' side of the court. I think it's for his job to keep. So, but listen, for Matt Murray, anything right now, just playing in the NHL is resurrecting his career, right? Because no one ever thought he would even be back in the NHL. So I think yes, it's an opportunity for him to resurrect. The little starts that I believe he's going to get, he needs to demonstrate that he can still play in the NHL for anybody to even consider him even a backup goalie right now. My only issue is with Toronto, with the loss of Austin Matthews and some other injuries. I don't know if it's going to be that easy, but I think it's Wolves' job to keep. And at the end of the day, for Matt Murray, if he wants to resurrect his career, whatever start he gets, he needs to make them quality starts.
Well, guys, not to jump in there, he actually got the start on Friday in the 6-3 win over Buffalo.
Yeah.
And so his stats were basically 24 saves on 27 shots.
Do we have Buffalo in this list? Yes. Okay, good.
How could we not?
All right. Talking about somebody that I had mentioned, I thought you had overpaid for this player, but Sidney Crosby had only 2 goals in his last 20 games right before a 4-point night Saturday. So, but are we starting to witness him losing a bit of that edge, that elite fantasy production? I mean, he's still steady Eddie, but are we kind of seeing a little bit of that pullback?
Maybe a little bit, but like I don't think he's going to be that 100-point player anymore. But you see how fast things changed. That 4-point night is now pacing him at a point per game, 82 points, where he was like at 70 right before that. Look, that's a long stretch without a goal, but it's Sidney Crosby. I knew he was going to make his way out of it. It's just I think these little droughts would happen a little bit more often. And this was a long drought, but hopefully they're not this long. I do see a little regression steadily, though, going forward. I see him more of as a point per game player this year. That was my goal when I acquired him. If he could remain a point per game player, that'd be great. And and just a small tidbit. It was funny because the night before, one of the reporters asked him about his drought, and he's like, "Well, look, usually when you start asking me about it, things change." The next day, first game after that question, 4-point night, and he scored. So that was funny. That was some good reporting, I guess. Maybe they should ask him more often next time, not wait 20 games.
All for you, eh?
Always for me.
Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit already, but Matthews injured again. And it seems it's something that he's been battling all season, and that he's gonna it's lingering, right? I already mentioned that he was my first pick in decent cup, but like Vince, if you were me right now, what do you do? It's a redraft league. Austin Matthews is injured again. I don't know for how long. If I have an IR spot, I think it's obvious you put him in the IR spot.
Yeah.
But
If
you don't, just take the loss until forever?
I wouldn't. If it's a redraft league where there's no keepers, no IR, I wouldn't take the loss. I'd try to trade him and see if someone else would pay me for him. And the only reason I understand he's a goal scorer. He's one of the most prolific goal scorer in the NHL right now. My worry is that he was already injured with this injury, went to see a specialist, came back, and now the injury came back. So to me, it sounds like it's much more serious than Toronto wants people to realize it is. And I think being injured again, I think Matthews has to take this injury more seriously than he did before he came back. Meaning, is it time? Like, we don't know what the injury is, right? If it's a wrist or whatever it is. If it's anywhere close to his hands, then I don't hesitate to trade him right now in a no keeper league, no dynasty league, because even if he's out 4 to 6 weeks, comes back, you guys know when it becomes around the wrist area, the fingers, it's very hard to like come back to the competitiveness you were at the beginning of the year without the right rehab.
So you're saying like maybe I could trade him to somebody that has an IR spot open. Maybe I won't get the same value back as a healthy Matthews, but I might get.
Yeah, you might like you won't get the return won't be. If you're expecting a big return for Matthews who's injured, then you might as well just keep him on your team because you're not going to get that. You're selling him low. No, but if you can get someone who's helping you now that you need the points, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
All right, Junior. Sabres, I think it's 13 in a row now.
Yep.
That they've lost. Obviously, things need to change. And I think the owner had even come into Montreal to read the riot act to his players, and they still ended up getting a beating. So, I don't know. What's the story here? Buffalo looks like they're in shambles. They look like Kevin Adams is on his way out. The coach is on his way out. Like, everybody should be fired. What's going on?
Look, Lindy Ruff came out and said this is the hardest challenge he's had to he's had to face in his coaching career, and he's not sure he has an answer. It's really bad, and I think what's happening with the Buffalo Sabres is they're just so used to losing that their hockey culture right now is among the worst in the league. And when that happens, it's so hard to get out of it. And it starts with management, unfortunately. But so for me, the whole management has to be restructured. I think they need an ex-player who bleeds Buffalo Sabres to come in and be some kind of president of hockey ops or whatever. They need to rebuild that structure so that they incorporate more of that Buffalo Sabres culture, and that the players have something to look up to and say, like, Kevin Adams might have played for them, but like he wasn't bleeding no Buffalo Sabres. You know what I mean? Anyways, from a fantasy perspective, though, I can't trust this team. I've already unloaded Dylan Cousins. I've unloaded Jack Quinn. Like, I can't keep waiting after these guys. Like, yes, they're young, they're promising, but as long as they're still in Buffalo, I got to cut ties with them. So, and unless something changes drastically here, I can't rely on any of their players. Look at Dahlin. He's costing me $11 million, playing, not playing, and even when he plays, he still hasn't been very productive. So that was another strange injury, by the way. He looked very healthy in practice, and apparently he was going through the motions, and he didn't play for like 2 other games after that. So who knows what's going on in Buffalo? Maybe they need to plant more palm trees.
My question
Vince, you had something to add?
Yeah, my question is, who's going to read the right act to the owner who hired Lindsey Ruff? Remember from the beginning of the year, I told you guys, Ruff got fired from the Devils, was a very young team who he couldn't bring to the next step. Buffalo is a very young team, and they were expecting them to bring it. And this, from what speculations are saying, Kevin Adams, Ruff wasn't his first option. It was the owner that pushed for him to sign Ruff. And look where we are now. So it's nice that the owner comes and sends the like you said, they're reading rights to the players, but he's got to take some blame in this, because at the end of the day, he's the one who pushed to hire this coach when he knew this coach wasn't succeeding on another young team that had high expectations. So,
well, the Pagulas are pretty popular in Buffalo, especially. No, I still see it going.
I still see recording. I don't see.
I saw Junior fall out.
Yeah.
Well, we can still keep going.
We could still keep going because he decided to change internet grabbers.
Anyways, so the Pagulas are actually really, really popular when it comes to Buffalo, right? Because of the Buffalo Bills. And as long as Josh Allen keeps putting up points there, I'm pretty sure that they're expecting wins from the Sabres as well eventually.
Guys, was I the only one who got disconnected there?
Yes.
Yes, you were.
But stop interrupting us now.
Just listen.
Just listen to real.
Well, the recording started
takes.
over on my screen here in the studio, so.
But it never stopped for us.
Never stopped for us, so we're good.
Okay.
Stop talking about it. We're good.
In the end, we had. Sorry, what I really wanted to say was, you spoke about Dylan Cousins, and there's a lot of rumors out there that Dylan Cousins is going to get traded, and that he might get traded to a pretty decent team that needs a center or needs some center depth. And if he becomes the number one center on that team, all of a sudden he becomes very, very interesting. So we'll see how it goes.
What team are you talking about, Nick? Please don't tell me.
Yeah, do you have a team in mind, or Nick
So-
TMZ? Yes, come on board.
Well, look, it's all rumors, right? But like, how good would he look, for example, with a team that we just traded with in Montreal to get rid of $3.8 million from their books?
Nashville?
Nashville Predators. So we just took away $3.8 million from their books and gave them a prospect D. I wonder if that $3.8 million is part of something that is getting ready to absorb Dylan Cousins' contract.
And in fairness to what you're saying, there are reports coming out of Nashville, and kind of Trotz supposedly hinted to it, that there's something else coming after the trade freeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe
So if
December
Cousins-
28th, if I'm not mistaken.
If Cousins goes to Nashville, he could be maybe a top line guy right away.
I'll believe it when I see it.
O'Reilly are very similar. Him and O'Reilly are very similar, but different age groups. But imagine playing with Stamkos on one side, Marchessault on the other, or make your pick. Forsberg, Nyquist is still there, doing very well. So
One thing's for sure, you'll have a
think,
lot less pressure there.
and notice that people that leave Buffalo tend to do well in other places.
Maybe UC
Oh, sorry, Rob.
UC Saros for Kozin. Go for it. Who's next?
All right, last one.
Last one. No, there's two more.
We
We
added
could just
one.
mention
Okay.
it and then...
So Mattychuk got called up by the Blue Jackets, Vince. And if you
Yeah.
remember, Mattychuk was a player that I was actually very excited about. I even asked Victor Nuno when he was a guest of our podcast and asked him who would he prefer, David Jiricek or Mattychuk. And he said it was pretty close, but he would still go with David Jiricek. Now that Mattychuk is coming up to play some games in the NHL, what do we think? Like, is he? I mean, I know in Lama League he's worth a lot because of ELC under $1 million, right? So cap leagues he might be something, but is he gonna play? Is he gonna be worth it here? He's an offensive defenseman.
Listen, I think this proves that they had more confidence in Matishuk to become an offensive defenseman than David Jiricek. When we were talking at the beginning of the year, you were asking if what would happen with Matishuk, and I think we were all in agreement saying that until David Jiricek is not there anymore, David Jiricek is still ahead of him on the pecking order. But now that he's not there, I mean, I think he's made his way where he can make himself fantasy relative, if not this year, next year. So I believe this is a good move. He's gonna get his opportunity. How much opportunity is he gonna get? Listen, Columbus has a lot of defensemen back there, especially like veterans like Severson. Who's the guy from Philly?
Provorov.
Provorov, that were all supposed to be offensive defensemen. So I don't see him getting a huge opportunity, but just getting his feet wet in the NHL is good for him for next year.
Yeah. Maybe it's going to be a preview of what he could do.
Exactly.
Junior, last question goes to you, my friend. And since you love controversy, Allmark got injured today. Is there a goaltending controversy in Ottawa?
No, definitely no goaltending controversy. In fact, the rookie Merilainen came in. I believe he played over the weekend and won. I think Allmark leaving, if it's serious, this is like worst possible case scenario for the Ottawa Senators. If those one guy, especially at this point in time, that they couldn't afford to lose, it would be Allmark. So this is brutal news. They're 8-1-1 in the last 10, and Allmark is he's the reason they're 8-1-1 primarily in the last 10. So they're occupying the second wild card spot, and we spoke of Ottawa possibly making that push for a playoff this year and making it. So losing Allmark would be absolutely devastating. So hopefully it's not too serious. Keep an eye on it. I wouldn't put my trust in any of the two backups available for Ottawa, that's for sure.
All right, boys, that is the end of the Odd Man Rush, where our 30-second takes last 3 minutes.
Odd Man Rush.
They literally did. It's 30 minutes in.
Our intro was pretty long, though.
Because you don't shut up.
We're still on air, by the way, guys. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, we only bash you later.
Let's move on to our waiver wire pickups.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
pretty good this week, fellas. Pretty good. All right, so let's recap last week. Nick had selected Fogley, a little bit out of nowhere from the LA Kings, and his reasoning came out to be true on a line with Byfield and who was the third member of that line? I don't recall, but it doesn't matter. Fogley had a great week, and that's a win for you, Nick, giving you 3 wins, 3 losses. You are officially 500.
What was his stats finally?
That's a good question. All I know is that he was 16% rostered, and I believe he had 3 goals and 2 assists. 2 goals and 3 assists. But, since I'm hosting the segment, maybe you guys should look that up. Junior went with Stevenson, who played Chandler Stevenson of the Seattle Kraken, who played 4 games this week. Is actually playing his 4th game as we speak. They just began the 3rd period, and he has 2 points, 2 assists. So as it stands, it would be a push if he gets a point in the next 20 minutes. That'll be a win for me, taking me to 3-2-1. Odds are it'll be another push, so I'll be 2-2-2. Vince, he took a gamble with the gambler. 39% rostered Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators. Had 3 points in his first game this week, so Vince could rest easy the rest of the way without any stress. But he did add on to that over the weekend. Actually had 5 to 6 points this week. So big win for Vince, bringing him to 4 wins and 2 losses on our waiver wire. Anything you guys want to add to that, or shall we move on to this week's picks?
Just keep on listening to my waiver wires. I bring you to the finish line.
And he's going to screw this one up. Jinx. Okay.
I was very proud of the Fogley pick, by the way.
Yes, it was a very brave pick, and it worked out. Good for you.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you go jerk him off?
Okay, well, so back to hockey. I start this week, and I will go with a team that's playing three games. They actually play Columbus twice and the Capitals. So I expect a high-scoring game for a team that doesn't score much. So I'm going with Pavel Zacha of the Boston Bruins, who surprisingly is only 44% rostered. Seeing as I see a lot of goals this week for that team, Zacha is number 1 line with Pasternak and number 1 power play. If you can't get points this week, throw him in the poubelle, like we like to say here in Quebec. All right, Vince, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with a guy who just came off an injury. Played this weekend on a team that basically doesn't score unless he's playing with his partner in Barzal. I went to Anthony Duclair. He's 40% rostered, and honestly, it's... he was on a hot streak before he got injured, so hopefully he can help the Islanders come out of their rut and score a few goals.
All right. I kind of like it. A little bit surprised 40%. Maybe it's because he was injured. But seems like a decent pick to me. Nick, you're picking last this week. Who are you going with?
I'm going to try to keep the trend. Last week with Fogley, I picked a 3rd liner who's playing on a good team. Decent team, I guess. This week, I'm going to go with another 3rd liner in Tyson Forrester. And Tyson Forrester is currently 32% owned, so he qualifies. He is playing on Philadelphia's 3rd line with Noah Cates and Bobby Brink, and 2nd power play unit. He has been quite hot, actually. 6 points in the last 3 games. So as a waiver wire pickup, give me that almost about to turn 23, 6'2" winger, and let's go from there.
Sounds good. Okay, so to summarize our picks this week, Junior goes with Pavel Zacha, 44% rostered of the Boston Bruins. Vince goes with Anthony Duclair, 40% rostered of the New York Islanders. And Nick goes with Tyson Forrester of the Philadelphia Flyers at 32% rostered. We're coming off an undefeated week, guys, so hopefully we could keep that up. Moving on, before we move on to our roster triage and surgeonization, any drops or claims this week in partial breakaway? Nick, we'll start with you.
Yes, sir. I will be dropping Brad Lambert, who
rookie.
unfortunately has been not playing for the NHL team, and I'm gonna have to risk it for the biscuit and try to get another rookie on my team that might actually put up points. Worst case scenario, I get another rookie who doesn't play in the NHL, so can't get worse than I am now.
So we're hoping for the LA Kings.
Sure.
I believe
Well,
LA
red
Kings
flag.
are not available.
If we leave it up to Junior, he might pick somebody I already own. So
Yeah,
Actually, Toronto
I
Maple
kind of
Leafs.
already mixed up some of these things here, so we're gonna have to see where this goes.
So Junior, I will allow you to pick for me the team.
Okay,
Tell me what the team is, Junior, so I can see.
the team. What team?
The team you pick, so I can see if there's one or two players.
Oh yeah. 1 second. I wasn't finished separating them. All right, here we go. Opa. It is green. It is. Oh, lucky piece of crap. The Chicago Blackhawks. Well, Connor Bedard. Oh, he's not a rookie.
He's not a rookie.
So, Nick, I don't know who you're going to go with here. Frank Nazar, maybe?
You know, that's not a joke. That's not a joke. Frank Nazar is somebody that is a rookie. I want to see who else is considered a rookie on this team before I make my final decision, obviously. Yeah. Seth Jones back. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. Leshunuva, that didn't play yet. Nazar, 5 games, 0 points. And Nick, that's about it.
And this will
I
be
think-
the first player selected of the Blackhawks. Right now, we have no selected players from Chicago.
No, exactly.
That's I dropped Bedard. That's right.
Yeah.
I think Frank Nazar is the only way to go here. He's playing second line center right now with Taylor Hall and Bertuzzi. He's playing top power play with Bedard. Hard to say no.
You go,
I'll
Nick.
go with Frank Nazar.
Frank Nazar. All right. So Nick drops
Brad
Frank
Lambert.
Nazar. Brad
Lambert.
Lambert and picks up Frank Nazar. Okay. Junior's turn. I
Who, by the
just-
way, I'm only 1 point behind Junior in the standings of
Yeah,
this league.
well, after so many plays you picked up Draisaitl after. And
after
you
whining
did
like a
well.
little tilts. Okay, so I am dropping of the Detroit Red Wings, Dylan Larkin. I'm desperate here for a star. I'll tell you right now. I just have to verify something here, but if
Just tell me the team, I'll let you know.
what?
Who are you looking for?
I wasn't sure, but from the top of my head, I was telling myself that maybe I could get Braden Point because I thought only one player from Tampa was selected.
I'll check now,
Hopefully that's
and I'll
true.
let you know.
And now that Nick dropped Brad Lambert, maybe I could get Connor or someone or whatever. So
Kucherov is the only guy picked for Tampa Bay.
that would be good. There's a lot worse players than Larkin though available too. So we'll see where this goes. I'm desperate. I can't finish last again. I will be very upset. All right. It's red. I don't know what that means, but it's red. It is the Washington Capitals. Is Ovechkin back yet?
No siree.
No, he was still skating with non-contact jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see what they have to say here.
You cannot pick Washington. Someone has Dylan Strome and someone has Connor McMichael, my friend.
Oh, so Washington is out. That sucks. All right. So that was in the wrong pile. Let's do it again.
I was with Junior that something's in the wrong pile. Right? Seems like he's
So-
trying to cheat.
So while he's doing that,
Oh, I wouldn't have taken
If-
them if
if
I
he
was
would have
trying to
taken-
cheat.
if he was taking Washington, Dylan Strome is taking him, McMahon's taking. We said that already. What
Protus.
would be the next person that you would get? Protus, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I would have taken Ovechkin though, seeing as he's coming back.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know when.
This one's also red, guys. So let's see what this has to do.
Watches Washington again.
Oh, beautiful. 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 I believe Kyle Connor is available.
Everybody's available. No, everybody except
Hellebuck is
Hellebuck.
not. Okay. Wow. Did I ever need this? Did I ever need this? I will go with. I mean, Kyle Connor scores more goals than Scheifele, even though Scheifele's having a ridiculous year. Fantasy points wise, though, Kyle Connor has the edge. I'm gonna go Kyle Connor here, boys. Dropping Dylan Larkin for Kyle Connor.
Well done, Nick. All because you dropped Lambert for Nazar.
Vince, you are dropping.
Charlie McAvoy from the Boston Bruins because, he just doesn't put up points. But yet we paid $9.5 million, I think.
All right, here we go. It's green.
Give it to me. No?
It's green. It is the Chicago Blackhawks.
You can't. No?
Why?
You could.
No, he could. Well, Seth Jones is back. It's not a bad choice.
I had Seth Jones already. Remember?
Yeah, but
Let
you
me
dropped him because he was
see.
injured.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're just gonna. I think I dropped him for McAvoy. If my computer will not freeze, here we go. Chicago Blackhawks. Let me see who else is here.
Nick, who would you take here if it was you?
I mean, he has to pick D, right?
Yeah.
So if he has to pick D, I think Seth Jones is the way to go.
Hey guys, Vlasic was pretty good in without Seth Jones there.
You're right.
We
He
laughed
was.
at him when I took him there, but not because
Yeah,
I
I'll go
wanted
with-
to, obviously. But
I'll go with Seth Jones.
all right. So to sum it up, Nick dropped Brad Lambert and picked up Frank Nazar of the Chicago Blackhawks. I, Junior here, dropped Dylan Larkin and got Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. Vince drops Charlie McAvoy of the Boston Bruins and picks up Seth Jones of the Chicago Blackhawks. That does it for the whole segment of Waiver Wire this week. Ding, ding, ding. Let's just move on to the next topic, which is the surgeonization. Every week we come up with a different way to say that word that doesn't make sense.
To say it and spell it.
Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house?
I'm a doctor.
Roster triage, where we do some surgeoning. surgeoning. Nick, hit it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, in this week, we have a very, very World Juniors edition. So, we have not picked one of our listeners' fantasy teams in order to do this. Instead, we have decided to pick a player from each team not named Kazakhstan, Germany, Latvia, or Switzerland, and give a little bit of a rundown of that player. So, we'll see how this goes. We'll see how much time we have left after that, and we'll take it from there. So I'd love to start with Slovakia, because obviously Slovakia without Slavkovsky is not the same Slovakia. However, Dalibor Dvorsky and Adam Gadjan are people that I'm keeping an eye on. What do you think, Vince, between those two players? Who would you like to talk about?
I'd say Dalib Dvorsky as a 10th overall pick to St. Louis Blues. He's as a 19-year-old, he's doing really well in the AHL. 26 games played, 21 points, 11 goals, 10 assists. Every year that he's played in the World Juniors, he's improved. 2022, he had 2 points in 4 games. 2023, he had 3 points in 5 games. Last year, he had 6 points in 5 games. This year, he'll be one of the oldest players. I think he's going to be at the brink. It should be his last World Juniors this year. So he'll be one of the older players playing in the tournament. And with his talent, I want to see what he can do. If he can improve on his 6 points in 5 games. I don't think the Slovaks are as good as last year or the year before that. But he could be. He's basically the head runner for that team. So I'd be interested to see how he takes on the role and produces.
Well, here's a little excerpt from Corey Pronman from The Athletic, who did a piece with Scott Wheeler, and they have Dalibor Dvorsky as their number 14th best player to watch for this year, and they said exactly what you pretty much said, where he's set to play in his 4th World Junior Tournament, which is a lot. Having a great year in the AHL, like you said, great hands, vision, threat to score from mid-range, and his pace isn't always the best, so we'll see where it goes from there. Junior. What about the Czech Republic? The Czechia.
I'm gonna piggyback a bit off Vince's idea there with Dvorsky and go with Edward Sale, who is playing in not his 4th but his 3rd consecutive tournament. So this is a type of player that has a lot of flash, a lot of skill, just doesn't have the consistency or the maturity. And in his first World Juniors, he had 6 points in 7 games. In the second World Juniors last year, he had 7 points in 7 games. So I'm looking to see if he takes another step forward. He's having a decent season with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. He's been drafted by the Seattle Kraken. I don't think they have an AHL team just yet, so they share. I believe they share. Anyhow, he's got 13 points in 23 games in the AHL. A little bit underwhelming for a guy I thought could really put up some points. So I'm hoping this rejuvenates him a little bit, gives him that boost, that confidence, and then goes back to the AHL and puts up some numbers. He had really good D-1 stats, but he's one of those players that after he got drafted, the stock kind of fell. And 20th overall pick in 2023. I just want to see. I need him to take the next step. Like if I have him as a fantasy GM in a dynasty league, I need to see him dominate his games.
Well, according to Scott Wheeler and Corey Pronman from The Athletic, they thought that Adam Novotny, who's a left winger out of Czechia, 2026 draft eligible, is somebody to keep an eye on. Scouts are very excited about him, quite skilled and a good skater with a high compete, so that may be someone I'll also take a look at. Others to keep in mind for Czech is Adam Juracek, that's the brother of David, Jacob Dvorak, Mikael Hrabel. These are all players that you could possibly look at for the Czech Republic. In Finland, Vince, there's a few guys actually that I'm looking forward to, but who would you rather see on that team?
Listen, I think everybody would have said Konsta Hilenius is the number 1 guy that you would want to see. But I keep my eye on Emil Hemmings. He was the guy that came into the draft last year. Like everybody was saying, raw talent, but needed somewhere. Right now is Michael Misa, and he has 61 points in 30 games.
Snub.
So, yeah, from Team Canada, I just saw that. It was, yeah, so I just want to keep an eye on him because I just feel like I want to see that raw talent. Is it really there? Can it be do something special, or is it just another player that has just so much talent but can't bring it to the next level? So he'd be the one that's intriguing me the most, and he's gonna play the important minutes with Finland, right? So like with the Barry Colts, I don't know what kind of minutes he plays, but I know with Finland he'll play the important minutes. So we'll see.
Well, again, Pronman and Wheeler from The Athletic mention that Constant Helinius is actually the unquestioned top player in Finland, NHL prospect from Buffalo. He's been very good in both the AHL and La Liga as a teenager and projects as a well-rounded top 9 NHLer. But Emil Hemming is a good choice there from Dallas. Kasper Haltunen from San Jose is another one that I'm interested in. Jesse Kiskinen, Kivi Harju, who I think we drafted in the DPR League, if I'm not mistaken, in the Dobber League that we're in. And he's another guy from drafted by Minnesota.
Yeah.
So he's someone that we could keep an eye on as well. All right, let's move it on to Sweden. There's quite a few defensemen here that are really interesting. Maybe not as many forwards, except one who's eligible soon. What do you think, Junior? Who are you picking?
I'm going with the probably undisputed best player.
Heavyweight champion of the world.
Undisputed best player on this team, Axel Sandin Pellikka. He was drafted 17th overall by the Detroit Red Wings. Everything they're saying about this. Sorry?
The next Nicholas Lindstrom.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Offensively, probably, but anyhow. Look, he plays with pros in Sweden with Skellefteå AIK. Last year in 39 games had 18 points. So far in 25 games this year with men, 22 points in 25 games. This is outer-worldly for a player of his age in a professional hockey league, especially the one in Sweden. So it's very promising now that he's lived up to the hype in Sweden. I want to see how he translates that to the World Juniors. Like, based off his success so far, I expect him to take over the World Juniors and be the best defenseman in the tournament. And it would be a disappointment if he isn't. And last year in 7 games in the World Juniors, he had 6 points. So hopefully he builds off that and helps Sweden to a medal. And Axel Sandin Pellikka should be the number 1 defenseman of this tournament, which is why I want to watch out for him.
There's a few players as well, like Tom Willander, Theo Lindström, Otto Stenberg, Felix Unger, David Edstrom.
I'm curious to see Eklund too, his brother.
So that's what I was going to say, is that according to the Pronman and I was going to say Swayman. According to Pronman and Scott Wheeler, that is who they're interested in, and it is indeed Victor Eklund, 2025 draft eligible right winger out of Sweden, and he is one of the top players in the tournament and one of the best from Europe. Excellent skating winger who is both very skilled, highly competitive, and a little bit on the smaller side. So let's see how that goes over in Sweden. There's 2 very, very big teams, and I'll let you guys pick 2 players from these teams. Yeah, because you told me that you were. Talk to me about Canada, Vince.
Man, there's so many players. I think we could do a whole episode just on Team Canada and all their young players. But the 2 that interest me this year are the 2 youngest players who are going to be, Schaefer's draft eligible this year, and then Gavin McKenna. We can't talk about Team Canada without talking about Gavin McKenna. I mean, this guy is the next phenom in the NHL. He's putting, as a 17-year-old, he has 60 points in 30 games in the WHL, which is just crazy stats. So, and he last year he showed that he could dominate, and he was only 16 when he was on that team. So I think Gavin McKenna is the guy to watch. I think he's going to dominate. I think he's pure talent. That's why he's, as of right now, number 1 draft pick in 2026, and there's no one close to him. The other guy is Matthew Schaefer. He turned heads when he played with Team Canada, but I think it was in the under 18, if I'm not mistaken. with Gavin McKenna, where they were both like just tearing it apart. Schaefer was the captain, if I'm not mistaken, and he was just ripping it as a defenseman. So it'd be interesting. It's his first World Juniors. Um, he's doing okay in the OHL. Like last year in the OHL, he had 17 points in 56 games. This year in the OHL, he has 22 points already in 17 games. So you see that he's already developed. He's getting used to his body. He's getting used to being, the confidence is there. So I'm curious to see. I just hope Canada gives him the opportunity that his talent deserves.
Well, I wanted to add that because based off pre-tournament games, he's been top power play and among the starting top four. And for a guy his age on defense, it's very rare. Like a guy like Gavin McKenna might be their 13th forward to start the tournament. He'll probably end up as their top scorer, but just to say of how much he's proven himself to earn that
Connor
spot.
Bedard was and all that. I think that's just right. Listen, we're not going to get into Team Canada picks. I think we all believe some players were snubbed on Team Canada that were younger because Team Canada is there to win, man. They're not there to finish second. They're there to win every year. So they bring bigger, older players that they know were there already and had the experience. So
a lot of role players.
Yeah, but those two players excite me. But like Nick said, Nick's gonna mention a whole bunch of names. Porter Martin, who at the end of the day is draft eligible this year, also who's touted to be top 5. So Canada has a very interesting team. I love this tournament because we see the young kids in action, and usually it's like there's not much holding back in this tournament. Like in the NHL, you have systems that you play. You play the trap. You play left foot. The juniors is much wide open. They make the kids' skills present themselves to everybody.
Well, just to follow up on what you said there, Porter Martone, according to Scott Wheeler and Pronman, was tied for second as the second best prospect to look at during the entire tournament. 2025 draft eligible. Some are even saying that he might go above James Higgins as the number 1 pick. Martone has dominated the OHL this season, entering World Juniors scoring at 2 point per game rate. So doubling the amount of points as games played. Big winger with high offensive skills and a strong interior game. So despite being draft eligible, he is likely to be asked to play a big role for this year's team. There's quite a few players, like we said. We can't go through them all, but Berkeley Catton, we've spoken about him many times this podcast. Not this podcast, but like previous episodes, I'm saying. Easton Cowan, Braden Yeager is the captain. Yeager's better. Jet Luchanko from Philly. Bradley Nadeau, Caleb Ritchie, Carter George, the goalie.
Like those players you just mentioned are basically the top 6 forwards that Canada is going to be dwelling out during this tournament because they were all there last year, and they're the ones who have the talent to do so.
Well, we left maybe the best for last, and we'll leave it to Junior. Before I ask you guys your picks, maybe if we have some time left over, but Team USA Junior.
Wow, talk about a stacked team. I'll go with the obvious one. James Higgins, draft eligible player this year, arguable number 1 choice of the draft, projected anyway. I think Matthew Schaefer will end up giving him a big time run for his money there, and Matthew Misa too. Is it Matthew Misa?
Michael Misa.
Michael Misa. I think those 3, I think by the end of the year could be a coin flip. Anyhow, James Higgins in his first year of Boston College as a college player in 16 games already has 20 points. That's beyond amazing, and it helps to play on a line with Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard, who are also on this U.S. team. So with that familiarity, I think we should expect him to do well. I know the stage is different than it is in college, but very rarely do you get to go into an international tournament with the exact same line you're playing with in college. And I think that familiarity could make up for the lack of experience, especially with the experience that both Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard have. So I expect a big tournament from James Higgins, and it'll tell you if he's the real deal. Like, you're playing with two established players in the World Juniors, two vets that put up points and that have a high pedigree. You've been doing well with them in college. That should carry over to the World Junior. So I'm curious to see how he handles that situation. So he's my number one guy. My number two is Trey Augustine. I mean, there's a long list, but I drafted this guy. I invested stock in him. Personally, I want to see him. He's having an absolutely phenomenal year so far in college with Michigan State. 930 save percentage, 1.98 goals against average. I think him and Fowler of Boston University are just like shutting everybody out. It's ridiculous. So I'm curious to see how it translates to the World Juniors, and on the nights or the days, I should say, where maybe their forward crop isn't up to the task, if he can bail them out and if he has that clutch performance in him.
Well, you already mentioned Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It went with my
it's
take.
good. No, absolutely. But those are two players to keep an eye on. Cole Eiserman is another one. Oliver Moore, Zeev Buium. Cole Hudson is someone that I'm really excited to see. Brother to Lane Hudson. I want to see what he could bring to the table. But who I'm going to be looking at is Trevor Conley. And maybe not for the same reason as everybody else.
Redemption.
I'm going to look at Trevor Conley because everybody knows he's uber skilled, dynamic talent, according to Pronman and Wheeler. But his discipline has burned USA Hockey and has been a recurring issue in the NCAA and USHL. But he's just one of the most talented players in his age group. So I want to see how this translates to the World Juniors, right? Is he going to be able to reel it in, be a little bit more mature, and just put up the points and just leave all the other stuff on the side? I really want to see this tournament and see what he can do from that perspective. Guys, who's your favorite team to win this tournament right now?
You can go first, Shu, if you want.
For me, it's the U.S., the Americans. The Americans, I think, are deeper, more skilled, more experience. I got to give it to the Americans. Probably defeating the Canadians in the final if the brackets play out that way. If I had to guess, I would probably go US, Canada, Sweden, 1, 2, 3.
I go with Kansas.
Somebody's playing with something.
Yeah.
He's typing.
I go with Kazakhstan, no? No. I don't know. Where are the World Juniors this year? Is it in Finland?
It's in Canada, no?
It's not always in Canada. I think it's 1 year Canada, 1 year Europe, 1 year Canada, 1 year Europe.
I think this year it's in Sweden, 2024. Yeah, right here. 2024 World Junior Ice Hockey Championships. It's in Sweden. So my picks would be
That would be a fun tournament to cover.
Team Canada, Sweden, USA. And I put Sweden over USA just because of the home ice factor, big ice surface. So those are my picks. I think Team Canada, talent-wise, especially offensively, have much more talent than any team you see there. I know the US have big names, but the depth of the Canadians, and they're both bringing back a lot of players. Like all the players you guys named from US were there last year. Trevor Conley, Buium, Cole Eiserman. They're all bringing back a lot of players. But I feel Canada's depth is going to be the thing that's going to put them on top of the US.
Yeah, well, I'll be cheering for Canada for sure, but I just can't wait for that Canada-US game. It's going to be must-watch television.
Is it New Year's Eve again?
I know it starts on Boxing Day, but I don't know what the first game is, to be honest with you.
I'll let you know now. Give me a sec.
but some of the best hockey guys every year after year, and probably some of the only scouting that some fantasy general managers do for their dynasty leagues. So it's always fun to kind of see players that you've drafted or you might be about to draft. Like for me, James Higgins, in one of my pools, I know I'm gonna go first overall. So if I could see him live, this is the tournament to see him live, right?
Well, look, it's your first good eye test to what you hear and read, right?
Okay. 2 seconds, guys. Is this the 2025 World Juniors or 2024 World Juniors?
2024.
2025.
5, I think. No.
Yeah, they always name it after the year that it's going into.
Yeah. So
'Cause it always starts Boxing Day.
So it's my mistake. I think it is in. I think it's in Canada.
Well, let me check.
Ottawa?
Yeah. Yeah, Canadian
Hold
Tire
on.
Center and TD Place area. It's in Ontario. So for sure,
Hold on,
Canada.
hold on.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I see it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So the
That's
first
right,
game on the
because
docket,
the 2024 one started December 26, 2023.
Yeah.
the first game on the docket is Slovakia, Sweden, USA, Germany, and Czech Republic, Switzerland, and Finland, Canada. That's all on Boxing Day.
Finland, Canada is not a bad game.
No, it's going to be an interesting game. Yeah, and it is New Year's Eve, December 31st, Canada, US.
Always. They wouldn't. Yeah, I see. Oh, US and Canada are in the same group. Finland,
That should be
Canada,
fun.
Germany, US, Latvia, and the second group.
You guys want to take a quick drive to Ottawa?
Hey, why not?
What does it take to get a media pass?
Leave our 3 kids
I
here.
think that's going to take a lot.
What does it take? Money? We could raise some
Viewers.
funds with some merch.
It's gonna take some likes and subscribes.
Yes, guys, please.
A
Go
lot
ahead,
of
Vince.
likes and subscribers.
You gotta like, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on social media platforms such as Instagram, X. Follow us on TikTok, guys. I've been doing this filter where you get to build your the best NHL player randomly selects, and you gotta place them in certain positions. So come follow along. My goal is to get into the top 10, and so far I've hit 30 and 27, and today I hit 19, but not quite top 10. So just come along for the ride. See if you would have done things differently. My goal is to get Nick or Vince to do a couple of them. I'm not sure if they're willing or they will, but I will try to convince them. Have a great
Good
week,
try.
everybody.
Whenever we're together, I don't have TikTok. Have a
Take
good
care,
night.
guys. Thank you very much.
Happy holidays. Be safe.
Enjoy your families.
Merry Christmas.